Boyfriend disappears mysteriously. A month later, his fiancé from a wealthy family suddenly shows up at my convenience store. She glanced at the store I was working at and sneered softly. Well, not that impressive. Looks like Alex's taste has really declined during his time with amnesia. I froze for a moment before pulling out a QR code. Fiancé, huh? Perfect timing. Mind covering the medical expenses your fiancé owes me? Friends, this is the end of the story. Subscribe to me and you can read one of my completed works every day. Time to start chatting away. Miss Jones should understand. Social class isn't something that can be overcome by so-called true love from someone like you. A bottle of water was placed on the counter in front of me. Looking up, I saw the face of Emily Quinn, the heiress of the Quinn Group. It had been over half a month since she last came to the store looking for me. I knew why she was here. Last time, she exposed Alex to be the missing heir of the Scott family. After Alex found out, he started waiting outside my apartment every day. It's been almost a week now. As Alex's fiancée, naturally, she couldn't sit still with his behavior. But I had no interest in becoming part of their high society marriage arrangement. That's $7. Will you be paying by card or cash? I flashed my professional smile. She blinked in surprise for a moment before raising her phone. I swiftly scanned her payment. Thank you for your purchase. As the other woman, Miss Jones, your composure is truly admirable, Emily suddenly said in a calm yet loud enough voice for everyone to hear. The customers around us started eyeing me with gossip-filled curiosity. I chuckled lightly. Whether I'm the other woman or the victim, Miss Quinn knows better than anyone. If Miss Quinn wishes to argue about this, I don't mind going over everything from start to finish. Let's not forget that Alex only returned to the Scott family and got engaged to Emily after his disappearance. And now, it's Alex who keeps pestering me. The title of other woman doesn't really suit me. Moreover, I glanced at the customers in the back, some holding up their phones, obviously recording. Emily followed my gaze. Her face momentarily stiffened. After whispering something to her assistant, she turned to me. Let's talk outside. Sorry, I'm working right now, I said, glancing at the next customer and signaling them to bring their items over. Excuse me, customers who've checked out, please step aside, thank you. Seeing I was unmoved, Emily resorted to her usual tactics as a capitalist, going straight to my manager. Meanwhile, her assistant handled the customers who had been filming. Eventually, my manager, all smiles and bows, personally shoved me into her car. But before that, I had already noticed a discreet black Rolls parked across the street. It was Alex's car, but the person inside seemed to have no intention of getting out. How amusing. Inside the car, Emily didn't say anything for a long time. I decided to lean back and close my eyes to rest. To be honest, luxury cars really live up to their price. The comfort was exceptional. Seeing me so at ease, the hostility on Emily's face started to fade. You're not quite what I expected, Miss Jones, she commented with a complex expression. She was probably thinking about the time I had asked her to pay me back for the medical expenses I covered for Alex. What did you expect me to be like? I opened my eyes, turning to look at her. Someone vain, clinging to Alex, dreaming of marrying into a wealthy family. Emily didn't respond, but her expression showed she clearly thought so. I chuckled softly. Miss Quinn, for people like us, when a customer is upset, a single bad review or a complaint means we have to bow and apologize. We know you're not here with good intentions, but because of who you are, we still have to smile and cooperate. So, what makes you think you understand the gap between social classes better than we do? Emily's gaze faltered, her brows furrowing slightly, clearly displeased with my words. Sure, some people do try to climb the social ladder by seeking out the powerful, but not all ordinary folks are foolish enough to forget their place. I leaned back again, my tone calm. And besides, not everyone desires the kind of life you have. Oh, really? Her gaze became sharp and mocking. If that's the case, then why haven't you rejected Alex? And if Miss Quinn is so dissatisfied with Alex seeking me out, why haven't you confronted him instead of coming after me? I asked, keeping my eyes closed, speaking slowly. With the Quinn family status, Miss Quinn had plenty of other ways to get Alex to behave. But threatening him might affect the partnership between the Quinn and Scott families. Using family pressure might damage their relationship. The fact is, whether it's for love or profit, she still wants to maintain this marriage. And she doesn't want to have a direct confrontation with Alex. So, out of all her options, she chose to deal with me even though she knows better than anyone how innocent I am in all of this. Why? Because I'm the easiest target to handle. Emily was stunned, clearly not expecting me to spell out her intentions so plainly. I merely tapped the window, drawing her gaze to the rails parked across the street. Unfortunately for you, I think Alex sees things the same way you do. Miss Quinn should be well aware. If Alex truly cared about me, he could have been honest from the start. He could have dealt with this whole engagement business and come to find me afterward. But clearly, just like you, he doesn't want to give up the benefits of this marriage. So, he's chosen to pressure me into submission instead. In the end, the root of your problem isn't me. But you both decided to push me because I'm the least costly option. After all these years, the game you people play is still the same. You talk about love, but underneath, it's all about weighing the pros and cons. I sighed and opened the car door. Before leaving, I bent down to look at Emily inside. Miss Quinn, when I saved Alex, it was because I was kind and had a good heart. Now, Alex deceiving me and relentlessly pestering me is his way of repaying me by betraying that kindness. Are you sure you want to spend the rest of your life with someone like him? And more importantly, are you really sure that marrying into the Scott family and becoming Mrs. Scott is what you truly want? Emily's brows furrowed, her eyes scanning the scar on my hand resting on the car's door frame. A flash of confusion crossed her face. Who are? But I didn't give her the chance to reminisce. Smiling, I walked across the street, pulled Alex out of the rails, and left the stage for them to resolve. At that moment, my friend Anna arrived on her electric scooter to pick me up from work. Seeing Alex and Emily standing in front of the car, she quickly yanked me onto her scooter and sped off. Alex looked in the direction I left, then glanced back at Emily. In the end, he stayed. Did Alex follow us? Anna asked, glancing back once we entered the neighborhood. No, after all. His fiancé is still there, I replied calmly. As long as Alex cares about the marriage between the Quinn and Scott families, he'll have to give his legitimate fiancé an explanation first. Anna looked at my expression and immediately understood. Furious, she exclaimed, "What a nerve! He's been playing the devoted lover routine outside your place for a week, and it turns out he just wants to have his cake and eat it too." Unbelievable! I didn't respond, because Anna was right. Alex was shameless. My fingers trembled with anger, while he, unexpectedly, played the victim first. Zoe, we've been through so much together. I know you care about me. Don't be like this. I bit my lip, about to speak, but before I could, Anna, standing beside me, had already reached her limit. She threw down the woven bag she was carrying for our market stall, pointed right at Alex's nose, and started yelling, "Alex, screw you. How dare you talk to Zoe about feelings? While you were missing, Zoe worried herself sick, her stomach's wrecked, and she's lost so much weight. And what were you doing? Getting engaged to the Quinn family's princess. You, a scumbag, talking about love? Stop making us sick. You even want Zoe to drop out of school and go to Hong Kong. Do you know how much she's worked to get into Stanford? She's in a combined master's and PhD program. Dropping out now would mean throwing away years of hard work. You selfish idiot, Anna, Alex warned, his tone darkening. I quickly stepped between Anna and Alex, locking eyes with him directly. Alex, I'm not going to Hong Kong. Don't come back to disturb my life anymore. Stop playing your high society games of keeping a mistress in front of me. It's disgusting. But Alex replied calmly, Zoe, if you want to study, I can arrange for you to go to the best schools. In Hong Kong, you'll live a life that's 1,000 times better than this. What the hell does that mean? Anna exclaimed later as we packed up our stall. Does he want to force you or something? I nodded silently. Are these rich CEOs all brain dead? Can they express love in any other way? Anna, Don't romanticize the abuse of power as love, I said softly. It's not that he can't understand what I'm saying. It's that his power now allows him not to listen. Many things in this world boil down to power. Why do so many abusers not lash out in public? Why do criminals often target the vulnerable? Because they know who's weaker, who won't fight back. And right now, I'm that weak person in Alex's eyes. With a little pressure, he can destroy everything I have and force me into a corner. He's willing to lower his head and negotiate with Emily because she comes from a powerful family. But I'm just an orphan to him. He might claim to love me, but it's easy for him to crush me. What are you going to do, Zoe? Anna asked, her voice shaking. What if Alex really does something to ruin your future? I thought about going to the police, but without concrete evidence. It's useless, I said, showing her the recording on my phone. Besides, someone like Alex has plenty of people who can help him do things cleanly, without leaving any trace. Anna's face filled with worry. What now? Don't worry, I reassured her, patting her hand. I've got it handled. You've got a plan? Anna's eyes lit up. I nodded. Zoe, you never cease to amaze me. She hugged me tightly, trusting without question. Sometimes I think you're like one of those lost heiresses in TV dramas. You've always been different from the rest of us. Even when you're working part-time, it feels like you're just experiencing life. She rambled on about old memories, but then her eyes sparkled mischievously. So, what's your plan? Are you going to pull off a revenge plot, like one of those cool badass heroines? I grinned, glancing at the dormitory clock. It's getting late. You should head back to campus. Anna packed up and left, riding her scooter out of the complex. I watched her go from the window, then picked up my phone. I scrolled through the photos Alex had sent me, pictures of Anna and my little sister, Lucy. Without hesitating, I dialed Alex's number. Alex, what's the meaning of this? Are you threatening me with Anna and Lucy? Zoe, you know I care about you, Alex said. Emily and I, it's just a business arrangement. You're the only one I love. I don't want to lose what we have. So, you're using your power to trample on my life and dignity in the name of love? I laughed bitterly. Alex, when you chose to return to your family and get engaged, I didn't blame you. I didn't regret saving you or being with you. Losing love to profit isn't a new story in this world. As adults, we have to face the consequences of our choices. Wanting it all? Don't. You think you're being a bit too greedy, Zoe? I know this is hard for you to accept, but think about it. Alex pleaded. What's so bad about going to Hong Kong? You want to further your education. I can find you the best mentors. You won't have to juggle school and work like you do now. I can give you everything except marriage. You'll never have to struggle like this again. It was the first time I'd heard someone sugarcoat the idea of being a kept woman so eloquently. I laughed coldly. So, Alex, you really don't plan on letting me go, do you? Zoe, I'm doing this for our future. I hung up the phone before he could finish. There are no grand revenge dramas in real life, but this isn't a one-on-one game either. When there are other players involved, who's stronger and who's weaker can be unpredictable. Taking a deep breath, I dialed another number. I knew you'd call. Emily's voice came through the line. I've been wondering all along, she said. Who exactly is Zoe? At 17, you were able to earn $30,000 to pay for your foster mother's medical bills. And now you're willing to work at a small convenience store just to cover living expenses? Turns out, you're the one. In the private dining room of the Lu Yuan restaurant, I sat on a leather chair, sipping the tea in front of me. I hadn't tasted tea this good in a long time. Emily sat across from me, glancing at the birthday card on the table. If you had told me earlier today was your birthday, I could have treated you to even better tea, she said with a smile. This restaurant has great service. Perfect for birthdays. Their photos always capture the perfect mood. I placed the teacup down, looked around at the elegant decor, and chuckled. A year ago, Alex brought me here to celebrate my birthday. He worked 2 months of part-time jobs, delivering food, to save up for it. He ordered this very same birthday set. Isn't it funny how people change? I doubt you asked me here just to talk about that, Emily replied. I raised an eyebrow, pulling out a jewelry box from my bag and placing it on the table. Inside was a pair of tassel earrings from Emily's self-designed jewelry line, the Quinn Moon series. I picked up one of the earrings, looked at myself in the mirror beside us, and put it on. They're beautiful. Very much your style, I said. It's a shame the Quinn family headquarters has been suppressing the brand. What your line needs is a memorable public event to get people's attention, Emily chuckled, picking up the other earring and putting it on me herself. Looks like you've done your homework before coming here. Never one to fight unprepared just like you. Despite being the only daughter of the Quinn family's main branch, Emily's father had died young, and her grandfather had always favored the male heirs. To him, she wasn't even worth as much as the illegitimate children her father had left behind. That Emily could secure her position within the Quinn family was no small feat. Those in the family would never give her a real chance to prove her worth. I didn't respond. Instead, I picked up my phone. No matter what, Emily, your dream of having your own brand has come true. That's something worth celebrating, right? Emily gave me a searching look but didn't refuse when I asked to take a picture. I pushed my long, curled hair aside, revealing the earrings. I leaned slightly toward her as she posed for the shot. The dark waves of my hair and my simple black dress made the earrings the perfect subtle highlight. I should hire you as my model, she remarked, but quickly turned serious. Let's not beat around the bush. If you were still the same Zoe from before, I would have helped you. But times have changed. Now, the future of the Quinn family rests with Liam, and with your history with him, will the Quinn family still accept you as one of their own? She paused before continuing. So, what's your offer? I raised an eyebrow, smiling. With your personality, agreeing to Alex's plan of sending me to Hong Kong was just your way of waiting for me to come to you, right? After all, you've spent your whole life competing with your father's illegitimate sons. You wouldn't allow your fiancé to pull the same stunt, Emily sighed. So you figured it out. Let's be clear, she said. Back then, it was you who reached out and helped me when I was bullied by my father's illegitimate children and step-family. You, the second daughter of the Quinn family, who was willing to be my friend, gave me the chance to prove myself in front of my grandfather. But like you said back then, you only gave me one semester's chance. Whether I could use the status of being friends with you to secure my position in the Quinn family was up to me. It's the same now, she continued. For old time's sake, I'll take a gamble on you. But you have to show me this gamble is worth it. I nodded. That's fair. But what I don't understand is why you faked your death to get away from the Quinn family in the first place, Emily asked, genuinely curious. And now, just because Alex wants to send you to Hong Kong, you're willing to reveal your true identity, instead of answering. I handed her the photos Alex had sent me. He threatened you? Emily smirked. Threatening someone from the Quinn family? Oh, Alex, if you ever end up dead, you'll have no one to blame but yourself. That's not important, I said, standing up and picking up my canvas bag. My fingers lightly brushed against the tassels of the earrings. What matters is that this week's joint project launch between the Scott and Quinn families is going to be very exciting. Don't forget to send me my commission for the promotion, Miss Quinn. Behind me, Emily Quinn chuckled softly, repeating the words, commission, huh? When I arrived home and unlocked the door, I noticed the broken tip of a pen hidden inside the lock. I smirked. Inside, I quickly spotted the subtle changes in my apartment. Did they think they could monitor me with such cheap tricks? After leaving the Quinn family, I used to fear they'd find me every day. But this was amateur work. I sat down, switched to my backup WeChat account, and posted a picture of me and Emily, cropping out her caption about the earrings she had gifted me. Within seconds, comments poured in. OMG, what's going on? Is that Jade in the photo? She's showing her face. And wow, what a beauty. Is that the restaurant near the East Gate? The earrings are stunning. Did your boyfriend gift them to you? Smirking at the responses, I began to remove my makeup while messaging Anna. Zoe, I'm sorry. By the time I returned home, Lucy had already been taken by someone, and I messaged back, her tone anxious and filled with guilt. I should have come back earlier. Anna, this isn't your fault, I replied. This is all Alex is doing, using his power to force us into submission. Just focus on taking care of yourself at home. Don't worry about me. But Zoe, you won't really go to Hong Kong and give up everything for me and Lucy, right? Aunt Mary wouldn't want that either, Anna pleaded. I glanced at the picture on the shelf behind me. Don't worry. Just trust me, I replied calmly. After ending the voice chat, I walked to the shelf and removed the hidden camera from behind the framed painting. At that exact moment, I received a text from an unknown number. I'm doing this for your safety. I looked at the camera and said aloud, surveillance? Threats? Control? And you think this is for my safety, Alex? How can you not feel sick at yourself? Without hesitation, I tossed the camera into the trash. Of course, I knew it was Alex who planted it. But I also knew that a message from an unknown number wasn't enough to prove anything. Now wasn't the time to let this interfere with the next step of my plan. I sighed deeply and lay down on my bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind drifting back to that fateful night years ago when my mother leaped off the roof of the Quinn family's estate. 5 days later, an hour before the Scott Quinn project launch, headlines splashed across social media. Scott heir Alex caught celebrating intimately with another woman. The photos from my birthday celebration last year, when Alex had taken me to a fancy restaurant, hit the news, stirring a whirlwind of gossip. Then, someone connected the dots. Zoe, also known as the blogger Jade, was wearing earrings from Emily Quinn's new jewelry line, the Quinn Moon series. Comments quickly flooded the post. No way. Using the Fiancé's design to please the mistress? Rich people really play dirty. Is Alex blind? His fiancée is a wealthy heiress, a designer, rich, beautiful, and talented. And he's still looking for a side chick. Well, let's not be hasty. Zoe, aka Jade, is quite accomplished herself. Her looks and education are impressive. Maybe there's more to the story. Jade has been doing charity work for years, helping poor girls in rural areas. Last month, she even donated sanitary products to schools. Doesn't seem like the type to be a homewrecker. As public opinion exploded, the highly anticipated Scott Quinn project launch, which Alex was set to lead, descended into chaos. What was meant to be a groundbreaking business event became nothing more than a tabloid circus. Emily called me via video chat as I sat on a mountain, gazing up at the stars. Her voice was sharp and concerned. Zoe, are you crazy? You've blown this whole thing up. I smiled, watching the fire dance in front of me. Congratulations, Emily. The Ruse series is trending. Your Quinn Moon collection is selling out online, and I bet the in-store sales are just as good. Now, the whole country knows about your brand. You know that's not what I'm talking about, she snapped. Do you have any idea how much damage this mess could do to the partnership between the Scott and Quinn families? Sure, I replied nonchalantly. But what does that have to do with you? Alex is leading the project, and your cousin Quinn is in charge on your family's side. You're just a pawn in their little business arrangement. A tool for their mutual benefit. But things are different now, I continued. Alex screwed up this launch. Your cousin will suffer the fallout, and you'll be left to clean up the mess. After all, if the Scott Quinn engagement falls apart, both families' shareholders won't sit still, will they? You want me to use this mess to negotiate with both families? Emily's voice wavered with surprise. You know, if I step up to clear Alex's name, with the PR teams from both families backing me, you'll be the one left ruined. I sighed softly. You know, when I first saw you secretly leaving sanitary products in those poor students' desks, I wondered if you were just putting on a show for me. After all, you knew I came from a rough background and thought you could use me to shield yourself from your cousin's bullying. But now, I see that doesn't matter. Emily was silent for a moment. I could hear her breathing. What are you saying? I'm saying your years of charity work weren't for nothing. If you clear Alex's name, I don't have to be the villain in this story. I sent her the materials I had prepared. A brand can get a moment of fame from scandals, but for lasting recognition, you need a story people will remember. It's the same for running a business or handling this situation. We've come too far to back down now. So, why don't we tell a good story together? Emily glanced at the photos I sent her. She picked up her phone and compared them to the ones from the birthday party, realizing that the outfit I had worn to meet her matched the one I wore a year ago for my birthday with Alex. "You planned this all along," she muttered, her voice filled with a mixture of awe and resignation. I smiled slightly. "Come on, Emily. You've been preparing for this too. And besides, you've already won. The Ruse series is sold out, and your jewelry line is a hit. Now, it's time to handle Alex," Emily sighed. "Fine, I'll fix things on my end. And by the way, your sister, Lucy, she's safe now. Don't worry." "Thanks, Emily," I replied. Emily released a public statement shortly afterward, explaining that the photos were all a misunderstanding and that she and I had been close friends for years. At the same time, I posted my first video on my blog, Jade, explaining that I had been out of touch while retreating to the mountains for some personal time, completely unaware of the wild rumors circulating online. I emphasized my long history of charity work, showing the transaction records from Emily Quinn's foundation that had supported me all these years. Of course, I added in the video, it was purely by coincidence that I reunited with Emily. I didn't even know the foundation I had been working with to support rural girls' education was funded by her. The rumors died down quickly, with both Emily and I controlling the narrative. In a single move, I cleared my name, promoted her brand, and further solidified my position. On the drive back, Emily commented, "You really are something, Zoe. You turned a scandal into a success." I smiled. "Now you can confidently place your bets. You've handled everything, haven't you? The neighbors in your complex, Alex's colleagues, even the owner of that restaurant, all of it, taken care of," Emily said. Alex's amnesia was a key part of the Scott family's internal struggle, and they won't let that messy business come to light. "Looks like we're in the clear. There's one more thing I'm concerned about," Emily continued. "With all the noise you've made, the Quinn family is bound to notice. Aren't you afraid of Liam Quinn? If that's what you're worried about," I said, pulling out my phone, "take a look at the latest statement from the Quinn family's website." Emily stared at the screen in disbelief. "They've officially acknowledged you as the second daughter of the Quinn family and given you a role in their new project? The same project Alex was fighting to secure for the Scott family? You've used me." Her expression hardened. "You ruined Alex's project launch, all to help the Quinn family get the chip deal." "How can you say that?" I replied with a smile. "Alex wanted to leverage the Scott-Quinn partnership to win the chip project. I just needed a way back into the Quinn family. After all, I had to offer something in return. Didn't I?" Emily exhaled sharply, clearly realizing the depth of my plans. "With the Quinn family securing the project, your brand soaring, and your public image cleared, you've even managed to take over the management of the Quinn family's hotel line from your cousin." I leaned back, smiling. "It's a win-win situation for all of us." Emily finally laughed, shaking her head. "I guess I chose the right side after all." "Thank you," I said seriously. "I couldn't have done this without you." Emily looked at me for a moment, then smiled. "It's okay. After all, if it weren't for you all those years ago, that's not important," I replied casually. "What's important is the upcoming project launch between the Scott and Quinn families. It's bound to be quite a show." I stood up, gently brushing the tassels on my earrings with my fingers. "Don't forget my commission for the promo, Emily." Emily chuckled softly behind me, repeating my words. "Commission, huh?" When I returned home and unlocked the door, I noticed the tip of a broken pen lodged in the keyhole. I smirked, pushing open the door and scanning the room. It didn't take long to notice the subtle signs that someone had been snooping around. If they thought they could monitor me this easily, they were underestimating me. I sat down, switched to my alternate WeChat account, and posted a cropped picture of Emily and me together. The caption highlighted the earrings she had given me. Within minutes, the comments rolled in. "OMG, is that Jade showing her face? You're gorgeous. This is from that restaurant near Eastgate, right? Those earrings are stunning. Were they a gift from your boyfriend?" While I was removing my makeup, I got a message from Anna. "Zoe, I'm so sorry." By the time I got back home, Lucy had already been taken. I should have been quicker. I messaged back, trying to calm her. "Anna, it's not your fault. This is all on Alex, thinking he can throw his weight around. You just focus on taking care of yourself for now. Don't worry about me, Anna replied. But Zoe, you're not seriously thinking about going to Hong Kong and giving up everything for me and Lucy, are you? Aunt Mary wouldn't want that either. I looked at the old picture hanging in the room, feeling the weight of everything. Trust me, I have it under control. After ending the call, I walked over to the shelf, prying open a hidden compartment where a small camera was concealed. Just then, I received a text from an unknown number. I'm doing this for your safety. I stared at the camera. Surveillance? Threats? Control? And you think this is for my safety, Alex? Aren't you disgusted with yourself? I tossed the camera in the trash. I knew it had to be Alex, but a message from an unknown source wasn't enough proof of anything. Now wasn't the time to let these distractions interfere with my next steps. I sighed deeply, laying back on my bed and staring at the ceiling. My thoughts drifted back to that night, years ago, when my mother had leaped from the roof of the Quinn estate. 5 days later, just an hour before the project launch, headlines exploded across the media. Scott Eyre caught in scandal with another woman. The photos of Alex and me celebrating my birthday in a fancy restaurant from a year ago spread like wildfire, dragging us both into the center of attention. But the real chaos started when people recognized the earrings I wore in the photos, earrings from Emily's exclusive jewelry line. Social media went into a frenzy. Seriously? Using the Fiancé's design to please a side chick? Does Alex even realize his fiancée is a wealthy heiress with brains and beauty, and yet he's fooling around with someone else? Hold on though. Zoe, aka Jade, has been doing charity work for years. She doesn't seem like the homewrecker type. The launch, meant to be a huge business event, became a spectacle of gossip. And Emily called me as I sat on a mountain under the stars, her voice sharp with frustration. Zoe, are you out of your mind? This is chaos. I smiled softly, watching the fire flicker. Congrats, Emily. Your Rue line is trending. The sales for your jewelry must be through the roof. You know that's not the point. She snapped. Do you realize how much damage the scandal is doing to the Quinn-Scott partnership? Of course I do. But what does that have to do with you? Alex is in charge of the project, and your cousin Quinn is the lead on your family's side. You're just a pawn in their game. But things have changed, I continued. Alex messed up the launch, and your cousin will feel the consequences. But you'll be left to clean up the mess. After all, if the engagement between the two families falls apart, neither side's shareholders will sit quietly. Emily sighed deeply. You want me to use this to negotiate with both families? I shrugged. It's not a bad strategy. And let's be real, Emily. With the Quinn and Scott families' PR resources, you'll come out of this unscathed. But someone needs to pay the price for Alex's mistakes. She was silent for a moment. You planned all of this, didn't you? I smiled. I'm just playing the hand I've been dealt. Later, after everything had settled and Emily had done her part in cleaning up the mess, I received another call from her. She had managed to salvage the project's reputation, though it came at a cost for Alex. You really are something, Zoe, Emily said, her voice full of admiration and a bit of exasperation. I didn't think you'd pull it off, but you did. I smiled into the phone. That's why we make such a good team. Emily chuckled softly. Well, you've certainly earned your place back in the Quinn family now. But what about Alex? Is he just going to let this go? I paused for a moment, then replied, that's up to him. But either way, he won't be bothering me anymore. And sure enough, Alex didn't come looking for me again. The game had been played, and I had won. I had been pouring all my energy into the project and my work in the lab. The day before the shareholders' meeting at the Quinn Corporation, I was still in the lab organizing data when suddenly I got a call from Lynn, my brother's assistant. When I answered, it wasn't Lynn's voice on the other end. It was my brother, Lucas. Zoe, don't be afraid. I'm here, he said calmly. That's when I realized something had gone wrong. There were now online reports exposing my biological mother's past and revealing that I wasn't my father's biological daughter. This is insane. Zoe Quinn isn't just an illegitimate child. Her mother had her with another man, a total bastard child. Her mother was a mistress, and she cuckolded her husband. This is next level drama. And wasn't her mother mentally unstable? This could be hereditary. How could they let someone like that lead a project? I scrolled through the scandalous headlines, gripping my hands tightly, trying to steady my breathing. After a few moments, I managed to calm down. "I'm fine, Lucas. I'll get to the bottom of this," I replied. "No need to investigate," he said softly. "Your friend is here." At that moment, Emily Quinn burst into the room, throwing a stack of documents in front of me. "It's Alex. He's behind all of this," she said. "Alex," Lucas's voice came through the phone again. "Talk it over with your friend. But remember, we're always family." "Thanks, Lucas," I whispered, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. "I'll handle everything." After the call ended, Emily pulled me into her car, and I started flipping through the documents she had brought. "I can't believe Alex dug all this up," I muttered. "He's trying to discredit your position at Quinn Corporation," she said. "He's been cozying up to several of the shareholders lately, looking to push you out." "That man's disgusting," Emily spat. "He talks about love, but everything he does is the opposite." As we drove, Emily finally asked, "So, are you really not Lucas's biological sister?" I took a deep breath. "You once asked me why I didn't destroy Alex after everything. Let me tell you a story." I began from the moment my mother caught Lucas's father's eye and how, with Lynn's help, she escaped him, only to be found again after the robbery. My biological mother had suffered a brain injury during the robbery, leaving her in a state of confusion, sometimes clear, sometimes foggy. I always believed I was Lucas's father's illegitimate daughter, but no one in the Quinn family ever corrected me. Lucas's father felt guilty, and he thought he could control my mother by keeping me around. Lynn, despite her noble background, could only accept her fate of giving up her own dreams and becoming a part of the Quinn family. "And Lucas?" Emily asked. "Maybe he just felt stuck with me," I said, smiling faintly. "But at the time, I really believed I had a family." I paused, thinking about my childhood. My mother had raised me in poverty, yet she had given me a childhood filled with love. But society wasn't kind to an unmarried woman with a child. I quickly learned about the harsh realities of the world. When I was 7, I already understood the class divide, I explained. One of my classmates came from a well-off family, and I remember being in awe of him. He had been learning English since kindergarten, and when I attended his birthday party, I was amazed by the small luxuries, things like riding an elevator for the first time, which felt like a big deal. But then, when I came to the Quinn family, I had access to the best education, foreign tutors, and I learned not just English, but French, and I could communicate fluently in no time. That's when I realized that it's not a lack of effort that keeps people at the bottom, it's the lack of opportunity. I stopped for a moment, taking another deep breath. On my 10th birthday, Lucas's father bought me a yacht in my name and threw a party for me. I was the only one in control of everything. It was the first time I really understood what power meant. Emily stayed silent, listening intently. But in gaining all that, I lost something even more important. When my mother was brought back to the Quinn family after the robbery, she was kept in a private villa, with nurses to care for her. I, on the other hand, became increasingly accepted by Lucas's father and gained more power within the family. My mother, despite her condition, knew exactly what I was doing. She knew I didn't want to leave the Quinn family and face the hardships we had before. Even though she didn't want to stay, she never showed her true feelings to me. I paused, fighting back tears. One day, she begged me to take her away from the Quinn family. It was the first time she had ever asked anything of me. But I didn't answer. I only asked her, "If we leave, who will take care of you if you get sick again?" She had stayed silent for a long time before quietly saying, "How can I be so selfish?" I thought that would be the end of it. I continued. But that night, she jumped from the top floor of the villa. Emily gasped, her face frozen in shock. I didn't find out until later that the research institute she had once worked for had announced its closure that same day. Her last hope had been crushed, and her daughter had betrayed her too. Emily reached over, placing her hand over mine. After that, I left the Quinn family. I didn't know what I wanted anymore, but I knew I didn't want power or privilege if it came at the cost of someone else's suffering. So, what now? Emily asked. You're clearly willing to let go of Alex, but he's not letting go of you. I turned to her, locking eyes. You need to cut ties with him as soon as possible. Her eyes widened. What do you mean? Lucas taught me something important, I said, my voice calm but firm. Always be prepared. I wasn't planning to go to war with Alex, but I wasn't going to sit back and do nothing. I've been keeping an eye on the Scott Corporation for years, and I've placed a few people inside. Combined with Quinn Corporation's strength, I have everything I need to bring him down. I explained my plan to Emily, how I had timed everything perfectly so that just before the internal investigation into the Scott family began, we would release statements clarifying my mother's relationship with Lucas's father, ensuring that I was always portrayed as his adopted daughter. Nothing more. Once the dust settles, we'll own the Scott Corporation's core assets. Lucas will make sure of that. As for Alex, he's finished. Emily leaned back, shaking her head in awe. You really are something, Zoe. I smiled. And now, it's time for you to break free from him too. In the weeks that followed, the investigation into Alex and his associates unearthed years of corruption, criminal activities, and shady dealings. The Scott Corporation's stock plummeted, and their assets were sold off at bargain prices. Lucas and I made sure to acquire the best of what they had left. And as for Alex, he was sentenced to 15 years in prison. The day the verdict came through, Emily popped open a bottle of champagne and invited me to celebrate. You know, Alex kept asking to see you, she said, sipping her drink. A final confession, perhaps. I shook my head, laughing. I don't need to hear anything from him. He made his choices, and I don't look back. What about Lucas? She asked. Will you stay with the Quinn family? I smiled softly. No, I've always wanted to focus on my research. The Quinn family's wealth and power were never mine to begin with. Besides, I prefer being Jiang Zhi to Zoe Quinn. You're brilliant at whatever you do, Emily said, grinning. She handed me a check. For your next project. I shook my head, laughing. No need for funding. This time, I've made enough on my own. As we finished our drinks, I left Emily's penthouse with a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. When I walked out, my little sister, Lucy, came running toward me, throwing her arms around my waist. Big sis! Anna and I came to pick you up, she shouted excitedly. I looked up to see Anna standing next to her new car. Come on, Zoe, she shouted, grinning from ear to ear. Mom's at home waiting for us with fresh steak. Time for a family dinner hot pot style. Laughing, I hopped into the car. We were finally going home.